Hello and welcome to episode number 29. Today we're going to talk about the math behind bonds. Let's do some math. Now, why do we care about bonds? Well, remember, the equation assets equals to liability plus equity explains the need why companies have to issue bonds or they have to sell their equity, because this is the way how they get their assets. So let's say if a corporation needs to raise money, they can issue bonds to bondholders, and bonds, what is going to be is basically going to be debt. So let's do the definition of what is a bond. A bond is a long-term contract under which a borrower agrees to make payments of interest and principal on specific dates to the holders of the bond. So as you can see here, bonds basically what they're just debt. So a lot of companies are going to use bonds to basically tell them, like, look, if I issue this bond to you, then you get the money right away. You're basically like lending the money, to put it away, and at the end of the life of the bond, you're going to have to give them that value back that they gave you, but in between, you're going to have to do what is called the payments. But before we get there, let's figure it out first. What are the type of bonds that, the most common ones? So we have the treasury bonds. These are sometimes referred to as government bonds, and basically they're issued by the U.S. federal government. We also have corporate bonds. As the name implies, they're issued by corporations. Municipal bonds, these are issued by state and local governments. And then you have foreign bonds, which basically are issued by foreign corporations or governments. You can see here that basically bonds, what it is just debt. When you hear bonds, that should be what you should think. Okay, it's just debt. Now, what are the key characteristics of bonds? Well, first, let's start with the par value. What is the par value? Well, let's do the definition. The par value generally represents the amount of money a firm borrows and promises to repay on the maturity day. So most of the time, this par value, when we do this type of questions and this type of problems, is going to be $1,000. But as you can see here, this value can change depending on the corporation. Now, basically, the par value is going to be very important because we're going to use the par value we're going to use the par value times the coupon interest rate to make the payments of the bond. So first, let's talk about what is the coupon interest rate. Now, $1,000 is going to be your par value, but then the company needs to tell you, okay, we're going to pay you this interest rate, and that's going to yield this payment during the life of the bond. That way the investor can say, oh, okay. And then once you finish that, you're going to also pay me, my $1,000. Perfect. What is the coupon interest rate? Basically what it is, the coupon payment, which is fixed at the time the bond is issued, remains in force during the life of the bond. So this is just basically the corporation telling you, listen, I'm going to give you a 10%. So your payments are going to be what? For 15 years. So your payments are going to be 1,000 times 10%, and that's going to determine your payment. We're going to need to do this math because this is going to be used to find the value of the bond. Maturity day. The maturity day is a specific day when the par value must be repaid. Now, the maturity day could be 15 years, 10 years, 3 years, 2 years, months, whatever it is. The company basically sets that, and then from there, what we're going to talk about is how to calculate the present value of the bond. Before we do the bond valuation, I want to show you this number line, and I want to show you the formula that we use mathematically to find out the value of the bond. As you can see here, what it is V, which means value, and the little b, the sub b, is going to be bond. So that's what is VB equals to INT. That means the interest payments. Remember when I told you have to do face value times the coupon interest rate? That's what you're going to do. Divided by 1 plus RD. What is RD? Well, RD, this is what we call the bond's required rate of return, and we also call it the yield or the going rate of interest. This one is basically, this is not the coupon rate. Very, very important. The coupon rate will never be RD. The coupon rate is only used if and only if, that's it, you only use the coupon rate to find out your payments. So the coupon rate is only to find out the payments, while the yield rate is the one that you're going to be putting right here in your formula. Now, at the end, as you can see in the formula, you have an M, and that means the maturity, they define it here, M, as the par or maturity value of the bond. Usually it's going to be 1,000, divided by 1 plus RD. We already know that that's the bond required rate of return, to the N. N is going to be how many periods you have. So, for example, N is the number of years before the bond matures. Now, this formula seems complicated, and obviously doing it by hand is a pain in the neck, let's be honest. So that's the reason why I'm going to show you today how to do it in the TI-83 and how to also evaluate a bond using Excel. So, okay, so this is the question, and let's start. A bond with $1,000 face value has a coupon rate of 7% with interest paid semi-annually and matures in 6 years. If the bond is priced to yield 8%, what is the bond's value today? Let's do this. I want you to go ahead and just get any financial calculator. I'm going to use my TI-83, and I'm also going to do it in Excel just in case you don't have a calculator. But all the notation that I'm going to use this is going to be useful for any financial calculator. So let's start. So if you have a TI-83, I want you to go to apps, as you can see in the screen. And then from apps, you're going to click in finance. Number 1 says TVM solver. That means time value of money solver. Click enter. And now you're going to have all of these variables. Now, this is very simple because once you figure it out how to do the bonds, you know, if you understand how to set the variables, then you can figure out everything. You can find the yield, you can find the maturity date, everything. But let's go ahead and start with this question. So N is equals to, well, they tell me the bond matures in 6 years, but it's semi-annually. That means that I'm going to do 6 times 2 because it's 6 years, but I have 12 periods of interest. I will never be the coupon rate. Very important. I want you to put a little note right there. The coupon rate is only used to figure out the payments. So here I need to figure out what is the market rate or the yield rate, and I see that is 8%. So let's put 8. But remember, it's semi-annual, so you have to divide it by 2. Now, PV is basically what we're looking for. That's going to be the present value of the bond. We're going to skip it for now. Just click 0 because if not, the calculator is going to give you an error. And now we're on PMT, which means payment. Go ahead and do 1,000 times coupon rate, 7%, and then divide it by 2. Why? Because the bond is semi-annual. So in a year, you get no $70, but 35, and then 35. And then click enter. Finally, FB, or the future value, is going to be the face value. We're going to put 1,000. Go up, PV, alpha, enter, boom, $953.07. So if you go to a company and you see that the coupon rate is 7%, but you see that the market is giving 8%, you cannot think, you say, well, the market is actually paying 8% and this company is paying 7%. I'm not going to give you $1,000 because you have a discount bond. Anytime the coupon rate is lower than the yield rate, this is what's going to happen. Your bond is going to lose value. You're not going to have $1,000 value. It's actually going to be less than that. It's what we call a discount bond. And so this is basically the problem when the coupon rate and the yield, when they're different. Now, let's say that is the opposite. Let's say that your coupon rate or your company where you are is paying much more than what the market is paying. Well, let's go ahead and do, again, the calculator. But now we're going to do a little bit of a change. We're going to keep the 7% coupon rate, but now we're going to assume the bond is priced to yield at 6%. So nothing changes except I. So instead of 4, you're going to do 6 divided by 2. And then PV. So we do alpha, enter, bond. The bond price is $1,049.77. That means that you have a premium bond. That's awesome because as you can see, you're going to be getting a value more than 1,000. So that's good. Now, let's just now assume, okay, that the coupon rate is 7% and the market is also given 7%. So let's do it again. So instead of, I'm going to do 7 divided by 2, and then I'm going to do PV, alpha submit, and look at that, you got 1,000. Why? Because you have a par value. As you can see here, when the coupon rate and the market, and the market is paying the same, no one cares. You can get 1,000 here, 1,000 there. But as you can see here, depending on the coupon rate and how the market is behaving, then you can either have a discount bond or you can have what is called a premium bond. Now, let's go ahead and do this in Excel. What I do in Excel, and I'm showing here, and just basically, starting for 0. So I put N, I put I put PV, I put PMT, and I do FB. The reason why I do it this way, because I feel like when you're doing finance and bonds, if you get used to the order, you go much faster in the question, and I feel like you have a little bit more control of the variables, to put it that way. So let's go ahead and put first what we wanted to do. So N, we can do equals 6 times 12, right? I, let's just do the original problem. We said that it was a coupon rate of 7%, but the yield rate was 8%. So I'm going to do 0.08 divided by 2. PV is what I'm looking for. I'm going to skip it. Payment, I'm going to do 1,000 divided times 7, and then divided by 2. And future value, I'm going to just put 1,000. Now, once you're here, look what's going to happen. I'm going to go ahead and show you. I'm going to go ahead and do equals. Because I want the PV, what I'm going to do, I'm going to do PV, and then Excel is going to ask me, hey, what is the rate? And then I click here. The rate is 4%. NPR, how many periods? And then you click here in 12. And then it's going to ask you, what is the payment? And then you click here. And then it's going to ask you, what about the future value? And you click here, and I just close it. And look at that. You get here the same amount that we got before, $953.07. Why is the PV in the calculator and in Excel negative? Because what they're doing is a regression. And the calculator doesn't, or Excel, they don't understand that this is money. So if you want to fix that problem, you go ahead and you just put ABS in the front, and then boom, now you have a present value. Now let's do the little trick that we did before. Let's assume now that our rate, remember before it was 6%, so just go ahead and just change it here. I put 0.06 divided by 2, and look at that. The value changes right away. Do you remember when we did 7%? So what I'm gonna do is 0.07 divided by 2, and boom, you get 1,000. So this is how you calculate the price of the bond using the calculator and using Excel. Now, can you figure out the terms? Can you, the end? Can you figure out the payments? Can you figure out I? Yes, absolutely. No matter what they ask you, if you use the calculator, as long as you know which one, who is who, and I'm going to make another video, part 2, just doing basically just practice questions, and I'm going to be putting them on my Instagram, on YouTube, so you can see the different ways or the different type of questions they can ask you when you are dealing with bonds. I hope you enjoyed this, this little tutorial today. I use material based on this wonderful book. I love this book. It's super heavy and super nice. And basically it's very nice for my eyes. I hate digital books. I don't know if you ever had a real book compared to a digital book. It's a huge difference, especially like when the Sex in the City, she goes, and you're like, oh, they smell so good. Anyhow, I hope you enjoyed this episode today. I will be making more tutorials, so please stay tuned, subscribe, whatever you have to do, you know the whole thing. Like, follow, blah, 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 social media. Thank you so much. Have a good day.